Hi, this is Mark Medina with the Los Angeles Times, and we present to you another edition of Lakers Roundtable. This is the playoff edition, obviously, with the top-seeded Lakers planning to host the Oklahoma City Thunder, the 8th seed, beginning Sunday. And here to join me in talking about this matchup and breaking it down is the Oklahoman's a beat writer, Darnell Mayberry, who covers the Oklahoma City Thunder for that newspaper. Thanks for coming on today.
No problem.
Okay, well, you look at the regular season matchups. Lakers, won 3 of those 4 games, but the most recent game was, Oklahoma City took that game 91-75. When you look at these regular season matchups, what stands out to you the most?
Well, what stands out is that the Thunder made at least 3 of the 4 games, or 2 of the 4 games competitive. The first one here in Oklahoma City, and the second one in LA. The third and fourth games obviously or the third and I think it was the second game in LA. The first game in LA and the second game here were blowouts on both ends. You know, the Lakers blowing out the Thunder that first time, and the Thunder returning the favor here in Oklahoma City on March 26th. So you throw out those 2 games. I think that the games that were competitive, to me, it gives this team confidence. And, as an 8th seed, as a young team going up against sort of NBA royalty and defending champions, I think that's what's going to give this team momentum going into the playoffs in this series, and confidence that they can play with them, knowing that they lost in overtime by 3 and again by 3 in Staples Center. So that, to me, is what stands out.
What do you equate from those close games? In addition to, I looked at the regular season results that the Thunder has gone through. They've been 12-15 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. What do you equate those 2 variables, and how do you think that could affect the Thunder's chances in the playoffs?
Well, this is a confident group. I mean, they feel like they can play with anyone, and they've shown it this season. They beat the Lakers here. In that game 4 of the 4-game season series. They went up to Boston and won. They went in San Antonio and won. They beat Phoenix on their home court. They went to Dallas and beat Dallas on their home court. So this is a team that's got some good road wins. Utah, they beat Utah in Utah. So they're not going to be afraid. I don't think they're going to back down from anyone at this point. So you look at those close games, you have to start with Kevin Durant being able to carry them offensively. Nick Collison actually said it the other day at practice. That's what gives this team more confidence than anything. They've got Kevin Durant. I mean, he's basically this team's version of Kobe Bryant. They feel like they always have a puncher's chance of winning any game because of what Kevin Durant can do. And then from there, you have very, very good complementary players who surround Durant and let him do his thing and are able to pick up the slack in other areas of the game. Thabo Sefolosha with his defense on Kobe Bryant, Jeff Green with his all-around play and the matchup problems that Russell Westbrook creates. And they've got this young guy, Serge Ibaka, coming on strong now in the post. They feel like he's going to be able to match up well with Pau Gasol down in the on the low block. So this team's got some weapons. It's just a matter of whether or not their inexperience, whether or not they can overcome that inexperience and make this a very competitive series.
We're speaking with Darnell Mayberry with the Oklahoman, and you mentioned Kevin Durant. Obviously, as you're very well aware, he's been one of the integral storylines leading up to this series. For fans who aren't completely up to speed, I asked Lakers coach Phil Jackson if he deemed Kevin Durant as one of the torchbearers in the league, and the reason for asking him that is he's been largely complimentary of his play, and obviously his numbers speak for itself, with becoming the youngest player in NBA history to win the scoring title, and he leads the league in averaging about 30 points per game. And when I asked him that question, here's what he said. He said, yeah, by the calls he gets, he really gets the line a lot, I'll tell you. Now, recently he's just gotten a $35,000 fine for, criticizing the officiating regarding that. And most recently, Kevin had a response when you asked him about it. He mentioned that he thought the criticism was disrespectful because, quote, that's a part of my game, getting to the free throw line and being aggressive. If you say that I get superstar calls or I get babied by the refs, that's just taking away from how I play. That's disrespectful to me. I don't disrespect nobody in this league. I respect every coach, every player, everybody. I never say anything bad about anybody else or question why they do this or do that. So for them to say that about me, I don't even want to use no foul language. Well, what do you take away from, this back and forth before the series begins?
Well, yeah, I'm sure you guys know. I mean, Phil's just being Phil, trying to work the referees a little bit, and maybe, on a side angle, get inside a young player's head. I don't know if that's going to work with Kevin Durant. I mean, this guy is headstrong. He's humble. He's hardworking. So, just because he responded with a little bit of venom, I think he's just tired of people questioning his game. He's not going to go out, I don't think, and try to make anything personal with Phil Jackson. But at the same time, he wants to make sure that people recognize his game and give him the respect that he deserves for all the hard work that he's put in throughout his 3 NBA seasons. He's really worked hard on his game and made it a point to get to the foul line a lot more often. He only got to the foul line a little over 5 times a game as a rookie. People labeled him a chucker in Seattle when he basically stand around the 3-point line and jack up 3-pointers all day. So, now he's actually trying to drive to the basket, work on a post-up game, create contact at the rim, and it's worked out well for him. And for people like Phil Jackson and Kevin Garnett to basically slight him and give him a little bit of disrespect in terms of the referees giving him favorable treatment, it doesn't sit well with him. And so, I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on this series in terms of the refs. I doubt it. But it's certainly interesting, and it provides us storylines for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Now you said earlier that you don't think that this could get into Durant's head. You think the way he approaches the game and his mentality, he would strictly just use this as a motivating factor for the better, you think?
Yeah, and I actually, in my conversations with Durant, he doesn't strike me as a guy who is going to go out there and let things motivate him. A lot of players, especially at this level, they get here by being motivated by the slightest of slights. And Durant's just not that kind of guy. He's not going to say, oh, you guys told me I couldn't bench 185 when I came in the league, so I'm going to go out here and try to show you how strong I am. That's not the kind of guy he is. I mean, he's just going to, keep his head down and stay on the straight and narrow and try to do what he needs to do to get better as a player. And he feels like everything's going to come in due time. So he's not going to really go out there and try to do anything differently than he would ordinarily do just to prove a point to Phil Jackson.
Now, regarding Kobe Bryant, you mentioned the matchup involving him and Cephalosha. What does he need to do to at least try to limit the as much impact as possible that Kobe is capable of providing?
Well, the first thing is he's got to try his best to stay in front of him. And Thabo works well on Kobe. He's had some good performances this season. Now Kobe has still obviously gotten his average, but some of his shooting percentages haven't been that great this season against the Thunder. So that's the thing that Thabo really wants to focus in on. I mean, he understands that Kobe Bryant is likely to get his in terms of his scoring average, but he just wants to make sure that he gets his 27, 28 points on 23, 24 shots instead of 12, 13, 14 shots. That's a good day's work for Thabo Cephalosha if he can make Kobe do that. If he can stay in front of him, use his hands and sort of be physical with Kobe, tire him out as much as he can, so when the fourth quarter comes around, Kobe doesn't have as much energy. I still think he's going to have. I consider Kobe the best closer in the game today. I think he's going to still be able to do what he does in the fourth quarter. But if Thabo can just sort of wear him out and take away some of his juice to where he doesn't have as much in those legs in the fourth quarter to come through and be the closer that we all know him to be, then I think Thabo can sleep well at night. He needs to use his team defense. He needs to trust his teammates that they'll have his back if Kobe, beats him off the dribble or gets into a one-on-one mode, that his teammates will be there to help. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. But, I think people still don't recognize how successful Cephalosha has been on Kobe this season. Matter of fact, that last game when Kobe was out here, I asked Kobe directly, how much did Thabo Cephalosha frustrate you? And he admitted that he did. And to me, that was shocking for a star of Kobe's stature to basically give credit to Thabo Cephalosha for the defense that he's played on in this season. I think that that's going to be one of the most intriguing matchups in this first round in this series.
Now, with Oklahoma City experiencing its first ever playoff series and the fact that the starting lineup has just 24 playoff career appearances, obviously a lot has been made as far as equating Oklahoma City's inexperience in the playoffs versus obviously the Lakers coming off a championship season. Some of us, including myself, posed that question to Coach Phil Jackson recently, and he said this: it's always an adjustment to go to the unknown. I don't know if it's easier, better, or what's worse. It's just you always have to make those changes. You can't get set in your mind, so you have to be flexible. How do you personally see those two variables playing each other out there?
Well, on the Thunder's end, I know this is a relaxed team. I mean, they're calm. No one expected them to be here. They don't have an expectation. You probably won't find anyone that's going to pick them to win this series. And I think, the coaching staff and the players have their own doubts about, how competitive they can make this series. But, they have a quiet confidence, that they can at least go up there and compete. And then when you come here and play in front of this home crowd out here, I think, they feel like anything's possible. So, I don't think they're definitely not counting themselves out. Scott Brooks was just asked about that on Thursday at practice, and someone was mentioning all the playoff experience that the Lakers players have versus the inexperience that the Thunder has, and the playoff experience that Coach Phil Jackson has versus this is the first time Brooks has been a head coach in the playoffs. So, Brooks basically said, "What do you want us to not just show up?" So. The thing is, they have to show up. They're going to come out and give it their all. But they just know that they're not supposed to be here, at least, according to the outside world's, preseason projections. 50 wins is an incredible season for this team. It came off 23 wins last year. They had a shot to be in a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. So, they're playing with, sort of confidence right now, and it's almost like they're playing with the house's money, if you will. I mean, they know that this has been a magical season. They know that this city is going to be behind them, and that anything can happen when they play in the Ford Center down here. But at the same time, that inexperience could be extremely costly. I mean, you look at the way this team ended the season. They lost 4 of their last 6, and a lot of it was mental mistakes that only get better and improve with time. So, they go up to Portland, go to state first, and, they lose a pivotal game there that really basically all but sealed their fate with the Lakers in the first round. And then they go to Portland, and they can't beat a Blazers team, granted on their own home court, but without Brandon Roy. So, you look at their late fourth quarter execution. I think that's the thing that's going to be the biggest key in this series. Can the Thunder actually execute down the stretch against the veteran-laden Lakers squad? That, to me, is going to be the thing to watch.
And lastly, what's your prediction for the series?
I'm going Lakers in 6. I do think that the Thunder will be able to get a few games on its home court. I think the crowd is going to be so into it. that this young team is going to ride that wave of momentum. They're going to ride that energy. They're having a fan fest, a pregame, pre-postseason party here in town on Friday. So the city's excited about this first playoff appearance, and that might not mean much to Lakers fans. I mean, we've been through it time and time again, but this city has really, really been waiting a long time for this. And that might sound odd saying, this is the second year the Thunder's been in town. Go back to 2005 when the Hornets were in town. They were on the cusp of making the playoffs. Both seasons they were here, temporarily displaced because of Hurricane Katrina. And fans really thought that they were going to face postseason basketball, and the Hornets came up short because of a couple of injuries. So this is really the fourth season that this city has waited on the playoffs. So when it gets here, I really think that the Thunder will be able to ride some of that energy to a few wins here on its home court. But I do think the Lakers will be able to close it out in 6 games.
All right, and those were the thoughts from the Oklahoman's Darnell Mayberry. Thanks a lot for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Mark.